Chris has been on the show before. And Chris, nice to have you back here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Pat. So good to be back. I'm so excited to be here.
So let's get right into it. The last time you and I talked, as we were talking, we got into, you wanted a debate with your Republican primary opponent, Jeff Deal, and I don't blame you. And what I understand is there are two radio debates that are in the offering on one particular talk radio station in Boston, which I believe, if I may say, Chris, is a rather right-leaning talk radio station. And there's no other debates planned or no other debates that Jeff Deal has agreed to do other than the radio ones. Do I have the debate scenario correct?
You do, Pat. It's interesting how many times we've asked for a debate before the convention. If you recall, we asked for a debate so that the delegates would get to know us, and Jeff wouldn't allow it or wouldn't permit it. And then after the convention, we asked for at least 6 debates, and we wanted to make some on radio and some on television, just so people get to know the difference between us. And all he's agreed to is one radio debate and then another one on a station that basically has endorsed him. So we've come back recently and said, okay, listen, we'll go into a hostile territory for that debate if you'll do one televised debate. And as of this point, we've not heard if he's willing to do any televised debates.
So that's all right. So you won't do the radio debate unless he agrees to one TV debate. Did I hear you correctly?
Well, there's 2 radio debates that have been offered. We have taken one up, which will be on July 20th.
All right. But the second one, you're drawing a line in the sand. You're trying to get him to agree to a TV debate, right?
Yes, in return for doing one on the other radio show.
I got to tell you, Chris, I think that you're right to do that. I think it's important for your candidacy, quite frankly. Nothing against talk radio. I work in talk radio. I don't know how much that's going to help you on that radio station because, I don't know, I view it, Chris, as Trump, that's the base of the listening audience on that radio station. And I think they're going to go with Jeff Deal. I'm wondering how much it can help you. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying I think a statewide TV debate like on a Channel 5 or a Channel 4 would serve the voters and, frankly, your candidacy. Your thoughts?
Oh, I absolutely agree. In fact, we should do one on your show, Pat. So you can.
Well, you know, I'm going to be honest. You'd get a fairer. Jeff Deal and you would get a fair debate out of me. The problem with that is I'm small fry. I'm not on state. You need statewide coverage. You know, we need to get into Springfield and Worcester because there's votes out there too, Chris. That's the problem with me. I'm more than happy to give you and Jeff the time and the publicity. So I thank you for at least suggesting that because I do good debates. Latest poll I saw, Chris, has Jeff Deal, this was a UMass poll, at 55% and has you at 18%. It's just a poll, but you do seem to be down in other polls that I've seen. It seems to me you need 2 things. You need that statewide TV debate, and the other thing I think you need is for Charlie Baker to endorse you. What do you think?
Well, the poll came out before we started advertising. So we just started advertising, and hopefully you've seen it, and hopefully a lot of your listeners have seen it, but we just started advertising about 2 weeks ago. And I think we've got a great advertising campaign. We're working the radios, and we're working really hard as a campaign. Just to give you an example, on the July 4th weekend, our campaign did 7 parades. And I think our opponents did 1, maybe 2. And so we're just campaigning really hard, and I think you'll see the poll numbers go up. We're not working to poll numbers. We measure ourselves on how hard we're working. And I think we have a great message. And people, as they hear our message, we share it, more and more people are moving over. Last night I was out at a fairground, and I must have had 30 people come up to me and say, hey, I just saw your ad or I saw something on social media, and, I'm really excited about your message and what you have to say. So we, going back to the debates, Pat, what happened, I think, in the debates is my opponent, Jeff, was did a debate against Elizabeth Warren before the senatorial race. And if you recall, he lost by a significant margin. He was nervous. His words were confused. He couldn't stay on topic. So I think part of his concern about debates being on TV is he just doesn't perform well. This is a huge loss for us because he's going to have to go up, or myself, we're going to go up against Maura Healey. And I'm ready to take on Maura Healey. I've got plans that are better than hers. I think we've got a better message. And, I think the Republicans need a chance to see the two of us, how we'll do up against Maura Healey. Otherwise, we'll have the same results we had with Elizabeth Warren.
So you're saying that's a hell of a political shot. You're saying, Chris, that Jeff Deal doesn't want to debate you on TV because of the TV debate he did with now U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren, and he did so badly that he doesn't think he'd do any better against you in a TV debate. So that's why he doesn't want to do it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's the main reason because. Maura Healey's around the corner, right? Once we get through the primary, we've got Maura Healey. What happens if the Republicans see him choke with me the way he did with Elizabeth Warren? We will all remember it, right? We'll go, oh, yeah, there were so many cringe moments in that debate with Elizabeth Warren. We don't want to try that again. That failed us miserably. Remember, they called the election before the polls were even closed. I mean, that's how poor he did against Elizabeth Warren, and I'm sure he's just afraid of having that, repeat that.
All right. Another point of view, and I think you get this you will get this out of the Jeff Deal camp about the debate thing, is that they don't need to. What advantage is it, given the poll numbers I see in front of me, Chris, right now, between you and Jeff? What advantage would it be for the Deal campaign to engage in the kind of debate you and I are talking about, not the radio thing? I mean, why would he do it?
Well, this has been his approach as a politician. So he ran for state committee, he lost that. He ran for his own state senate, which included his own hometown. He lost that. Then he ran for the U.S. Senate, and he lost that. This will be his fourth lost race. And so it just doesn't work, right? I mean, you have to have a plan, you got to have a message, you got to have energy. He just doesn't offer any of those, and so he keeps losing. This will be his fourth lost race. So the party needs to try someone new. Remember, Tom Brady was a seventh-round draft pick. No one thought Tom could do it. And the same thing here. If we put Jeff up against Maura Healey, we'll get the exact same results that he's got the last three times. So I think it's time for a new player to get put on the field and with a new message and a new plan and where we want to take the state.
How much, we're talking with Chris Doughty. He is one of two Republicans vying for the nomination to take on a Democrat to be governor of Massachusetts. His opponent, Jeff, who we keep referencing, is Jeff Deal. I wonder, Chris, if what partly is what is going on, or hugely is going on here, is Jeff Deal, I believe, has a base support of what I would refer to as Massachusetts Trump Republicans. Very, very loyal, still loyal, I think, to former President Trump. And I believe they are wholeheartedly endorsing Jeff Deal in this. So do you agree with me that, well, yeah, that's where he at the moment is drawing that 55% from? What do you think?
Well, I think a lot of his name ID, since Jeff has run, this will be his fourth campaign, people know him and know his name, and they're just getting to know me. And, it'll take a little bit of time, but I think people are getting to know me and my message, what I want to do with our state. We can make our state so much better than what it is right now. And so we can make it more affordable. We can improve our schools. We can we can build our economy. And so I think as people get to know my message and my background, they'll begin to move over. Remember, Trump won, and so Jeff loses. The Republicans, no matter what your orientation is, they don't want to keep losing. This would be,
well, if I could interrupt you, no, they don't, Chris. But and I think that's why Republicans, the Massachusetts Republican Party chair, who I've heard you say you get along with him, and that's great. But I view that fellow, that's just a Trump supporter who heads up the Republican Party here in Massachusetts. So I guess I want to make the point and have you respond to, I think Donald Trump is a part of this campaign because I think Donald Trump, I know he has has endorsed Jeff Deal. Jeff Deal is a Trump guy. It's a variable in this race up here in Massachusetts. It's happening in other places around the country, right? I mean, you acknowledge that that's a variable.
Oh, sure, it's a variable, but I really think what people are talking about in our state are things like inflation, the worries about the economy, those types of topics. Not many people are bringing up, national politics, at least with me, and what happened in an election, years ago. So I think that what voters will eventually look at and turn to are the things that are affecting them today, not issues from years ago.
I hope you get the you deserve it and the voters deserve it. I hope you get the TV statewide debate thing. I think it would be important, and frankly, I'll be honest, Chris, I think it would help you campaign. It would give you that kind of exposure. I won't keep bringing it up anymore. But I want to touch on it before I have to break anyway. And that is the endorsement thing. Have you, Chris Doughty, asked Charlie Baker to endorse you for governor of Massachusetts?
I have not. It's still a little early in the process for that. I think we have to get through the primary. And certainly, I've gotten to know Governor Baker over time, and so we'll see how that goes.
Well, okay. I guess my thinking is, I'm trying to help you, but maybe I shouldn't try. My thinking is you have to win your primary, and right now the numbers aren't in your favor, Chris. I'm not saying it can't change. I'm just saying I got to look at the numbers, and they look like they're in Deal's favor. Having said that, Chris, it would seem to me that if Charlie Baker, and I hope he's listening, if Governor Baker would endorse your candidacy, I think it would help you tremendously in the challenge you have with Jeff Deal. Just saying.
Yeah, and all the state legislators, so right now we don't have a lot of Republicans, but about 32, and almost every one of them have endorsed me. And these are Jeff's prior colleagues who have all endorsed me. So, I think it's coming, and we've got a lot of support from around the state. We've got a lot of the state committee have endorsed us. So I think you'll just see the number of endorsements just keep growing during the course of the campaign.
You say the Massachusetts State Committee?
Many of the members have.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. So you've got the those endorsements, and that's a good thing. All right. We'll come back and we'll delve into some of the issues that are out there with Chris Doughty. Again, Chris is a Republican, and he's a candidate for governor of Massachusetts, and the primary date is September 6th. We'll break. We'll be back. We're heard live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Newsradio 95 WXTK. Hey, Chris Doughty is my guest. Chris is a Republican, one of two Republicans actually, vying to be a governor. The primary is September the 6th. We talked a lot about debates, Chris. Curious, if we had a format, you suggested I could host one of these things. I think a good one for you and Jeff Deal would be for you each to ask some questions of each other. If you had the opportunity, what would be the first question that you would ask your Republican opponent, Jeff Deal?
What possible skills does he have to run a $50 billion corporation with 44,000 employees? So for 3 decades, I have run a large, complex organization with big budgets and lots of problems, and he doesn't have 3 minutes. How does he think he has any of the skills possible to run something as large, complex, and difficult as our state government? This is one of the most complicated organizations in our state. If you imagine the MBTA, the RMB, the dealing with the legislature, there's complexity on every single level. And Jeff doesn't have any skills or any experience that are relevant for that. It's like applying for a job that it would be like you and me applying to be a surgeon. It just doesn't make sense. And I think that in the end, the voters look for people that that can actually run the organizations that they're applying for, particularly jobs like governor, where you're really the CEO of a very large, complex organization.
Chris Doughty is his name. He's a Republican candidate for governor. Chris, I see a couple of things here, and you had mentioned before the break that people are coming up to you, not so much talking politics, but they're coming up to you talking about inflation, and it costs so much to get a tank of gas. It costs so much to go out to dinner and get groceries, and I agree. I think that's what's pocketbook issues, Chris. It's always on our minds, so I agree with you. I see a couple of things here. You want to suspend the gas tax here in Massachusetts, correct?
Yeah, we called for that early on, and just to give some help and to all those that are struggling right now. I was in a market basket the other day, and I saw this senior citizen, and I could tell he was weighing between buying the butter or buying the milk, and it broke my heart, that the legislature was saying, no one needs relief right now. It's not enough. And so they refused to even consider a suspension of the gas tax holiday. Funny thing is they come in later and say, okay, we will give a tax, one-time tax rebate of $250. That'll be delivered around September, around the time that we're all voting. It just seems so suspicious that they say no to the gas tax holiday and then come in with a $250 rebate, which we're grateful for, but seems a little too late and a little small.
Well, also, it seems to me it begs a central question in this. I don't mind getting a little help either way, Chris, although I don't think it's enough, I'll be honest with you. But it's you're pointing out it's good. I suppose that it's good politics to do. All right, so you support that, but what about where does the money come from? Because I'm looking at your website, and you certainly are, it seems to me, a responsible, fiscally conservative kind of guy, and you're critical of Massachusetts. The nickname Taxachusetts, you seem to be indicating is well deserved. But when you talk about you supported the gas tax holiday, okay, now we're going to do a $250 kiss around election. Where does the money come from, I wonder? I mean, it just doesn't magically appear, right?
Yeah, when you compare us to other states, and in my business life, I did this often, as I compared us to, other businesses. And in Massachusetts, we overspend and we overtax. Right now, we have one of the highest tax rates in America, but it's also because we have one of the highest spend rates in America. And very little amount of our money comes back to our local communities. That's why our property taxes are so much higher here in Massachusetts. So for all of us, including all your listeners, we pay about 11%, 10 to 11% of state taxes, fees, property taxes. It's one of the highest in America. So first, I'll do what I've done in my business life as I bought turnarounds, which is begin reducing the cost of operations. And it's usually, it's a lot of things. It's usually not one thing. But I would go to every department and say, listen, our goal is to reduce our costs 3% a year in every single department and start coming up with plans and objectives, how we can do that. And over the course of time, we'll begin reducing the cost of our state government. We can send that back to the local communities.
Wouldn't that have to mean possible layoffs, though? Okay, albeit at the state level, but wouldn't you have to cut that way?
No, typically it doesn't. Labor usually runs about 20 to 30% of an organization. So it's usually, you have retirements and you have other things there. So it's rarely, if ever, has anything to do with layoffs. It's almost always with just smart use of the dollars. A lot of times it's just reducing the length of time it takes to do things. What we call in the manufacturing world lean. You just you simplify things. When you simplify processes, it reduces the cost. So I would start there.
Chris Doughty is my guest, again, a Republican. He's running for governor of Massachusetts. All right, so explain to me what your one or two top issues. You just kind of outline one for me. You're saying you're going to get more local state aid, which if I think I heard you say that. You're going to cut government. I think you said 3%. Is that going to be
Yeah,
annually?
3% a year. Yep.
Yeah, that seems, I may be wrong, but that seems wonderful, but it seems like it seems ambitious. What's the other top thing, if we were to vote for you and not Jeff Deal, what's the other top thing that you're promising if you were governor of the state?
Well, there's so many things I'm excited about. Let me share just a couple. One is tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we'll be down in Hyannis unveiling the Cape Cod Plan. So we have a plan that for the Cape Cod region, and we'll be presenting it to the press and anyone else that's interested to join us at the Veterans Memorial Park in Hyannis at 2 p.m. So I won't go into the plan right now, but we're really excited to kind of lay out a plan for Cape Cod. The other one I want to talk about is a lecture. Oh, sorry, you're going to jump in there, Pat?
Well, of course, you did that to me. You teased me with this Cape Cod Plan thing, and I thank you for making the announcement. But, of course, you're torturing me, Chris. You set it up. Pat, I'm not going to answer any questions about it. And now I'm curious. You think it's funny. I'm curious, is the Cape Cod Plan, I want to phrase it in such a way that you could respond to it, Chris, is the Cape Cod Plan related to reducing property tax or getting more state aid? Is that generic enough?
Yeah, so I have spent a lot of time on the Cape during the course of my 34 years in Massachusetts. I've vacationed there. During this campaign, I have spent literally hundreds of hours, meeting with people, talking to chambers of commerce's residents. And there's been issues that have floated to the top of my, kind of the top of mind of the primary issues. So I wanted to put on paper a specific plan for Cape Cod to address those issues that everybody's talking about. This is what should happen in campaigns, and I'm sorry to so many voters that haven't had this yet, where you can see, okay, here's the candidate, here's exactly what they want to do. Here's their plans, here's how they're going to do it, here's where they're going to focus. So tomorrow we're going to lay it out to the Cape Cod citizens so they have something to react to. So it's not just national politics or celebrities or just sound bites, but actual specific plans. In the business world, this is what we do. We don't just say words, we actually put together plans. So tomorrow we'll put together a plan, and it's all the top-of-mind issues, Pat, that everybody's talking about there on the Cape. So no surprises for you or anyone else, but just how we would like to fix and address those problems.
Sure, I love that. And plug it again, Chris. You said 2 p.m. in Hyannis? Yeah,
2 p.m. in Hyannis at the Veterans Memorial Park. And for those that can't make it, we'll post it on the website, after that press conference. But we invite you, Pat, and all your other listeners to come down if they'd like to meet me and shake my hand and sort of get to know us in our campaign and then hear a little bit about our plans for the Cape.
Now, I went on your Republican opponent's website, Jeff Deal website, and I'm just going to breeze down this list. These are the things that this guy says, candidate Deal says that he'll do for governor. He's going to support economic development. He's going to improve education. He's going to revolutionize energy. He's going to protect the environment. He's going to impose fiscal discipline. He's going to defend freedom. I'm not sure what he means by that. Promoting government accountability. Okay, so he strikes me as a fiscal conservative guy who thinks there are too many taxes in Massachusetts too. I mean, is that fair to come away with that message from his campaign website?
Well, who knows, right? These are just words. None of us have any idea. And again, he hasn't been in the executive world, so he doesn't really know what a plan is. But a plan is measurable goals, objectives, specific things that you're going to do. That's a plan. Those are just words put together. So, you'll notice in our campaign it's different because we want to put up measurables and specific plans and objectives because that's what executives do, and that's what the executive branch is all about. It's not just a couple of words and an idea. It's a plan. So anyway, I hope people will join us tomorrow to see what a plan really is, what we call the Cape Cod Plan.
Absolutely. It sounds, I like that. That's a good idea, and people get a chance to meet you if they want to come out as well. Chris, I like that idea. What you're saying sounds very reasonable to me It sounds. I get a sense of, and I'm speaking for myself, not you, Chris. I get a sense of moderation out of you, and I like that. And just my personal point of view, we need more of that in politics. It seems to me. But I'm also a realist, my friend, and I think that you got to do what you got to do in politics, and it sometimes can be a rough game. If at some point between now and September 6th, it was suggested to you that you could get, Republicans who are not Trump supporters or guys like me, unenrolled voters, if you were to start running TV ads that just simply reminded everybody that Jeff Deal is a Trump candidate, would you do that?
I'm trying not to focus on my opponents because that's part of the problem with politics is that I'm really focused on what I'm excited about. And I'm so excited about just building a strong economy and making it more affordable here. I feel like my opponents are New Hampshire, Virginia, Tennessee, all those states that are stealing our businesses and stealing our jobs. Those are my true competitors. I don't even consider Jeff Deal an opponent because he doesn't have any plans. He doesn't have any ideas. But Tennessee has ideas, things they're doing, and New Hampshire, Florida. These states are they're starting to eat our lunch, and we all know it. Those are
in this radio debate that you've agreed to do, Chris, is that what you hope you'll be allowed to do? Are you going to go after Jeff Deal on what you say are a lack of policy ideas?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that will play out, but I just know that when you hire a governor, you want a governor that knows what they want to do and can articulate it. And so I want these debates to have an opportunity to share my plans, my thoughts, my goals, my measurables, so that people can hear, oh, that is a good plan. That's a better plan than what Maura Healey has. Maura has a different plan. And I look forward to being on the debate stage with Maura Healey and laying out a completely different vision of our state and a different leadership style in our state than what Maura Healey will offer. So I'm excited to get there.
Give me the elevator speech for what you would tell someone if I asked you, okay, you want me to vote for you and not Maura Healey. What is it? What would Maura Healey? I know she's a very liberal. She's a progressive Democrat. What's she going to do to the state that's so awful? Raise our taxes?
Yeah. Where do we begin, right? I mean, Maura is. If you had to give her a term, you'd call her an activist, a party activist, and she calls herself a civil rights attorney. How many of us want a civil rights attorney to run the executive branch of our state government? Everything is about, for her, it's all about liberal ideology. When she was asked about the carbon tax, she said, yes, we should have a carbon tax. So there goes our taxes higher. I'd love to talk about electric rates because she's the reason that your listeners are paying such high energy costs on the Cape. One of the highest costs in America, thanks to Maura Healey. When it came to local aid, she said she didn't want to keep a local aid formula. She wants it to be, to fall on the property owners. The Transportation Carbon Initiative, she said she supports that. Another tax. Rent control. She said, yeah, she supports rent control. Just about every decision she has will make us less and less competitive in the global market and among the other states. So I want to get on the debate stage and say, Maura, you're wrong. You're wrong on all of those. And someone needs to call her out. I just started running an ad, Pat, but I think it's a great ad, and I hope your listeners will take a minute to go watch this. So in the ad, it shows that in Massachusetts, we have the third highest electric rates in America. And for your listeners on the Cape, you might have the second highest electric rates in America. And then right in the middle of that, there's a cut, and it shows Maura Healey on a stage bragging that she was the one that sued to stop the natural gas pipelines from coming into our state. That's the problem. That's what caused electric rates to be so high, and she's so proud of it. She should be apologizing. She should go down to the Cape, call everyone together and say, I'm so sorry to all of you that live on the Cape, but I made a huge mistake. I caused your electric rates to be the highest in America, and I'm really sorry. But instead of being sorry, she actually is proud of it. Like, she's just so proud of the high cost of electric rates, thinking that the people down in the Cape are rewarding her. They're so grateful for the high cost of electricity. It's hypocrisy. It's reckless, and she needs to be called out. So my campaign, we've got the resources, we've got the message. We're going to call her out on it.
All right, good stuff. However, I remind you, Chris, you mentioned that. I remind you that was very good, but you had my attention. I remind you, you took a crack at Maura Healey for, would you call her an activist? Remember,
party activist.
Remember, the country decided not once but twice to put Barack Obama in, and I believe he was a community activist. Was on his resume, and they put him in as president of the United States. Just saying, just saying. All right, we're having a great conversation. Lots of great stuff and information coming out of Chris Doughty. Again, Chris is a Republican. He is a candidate, one of two Republicans. He's a candidate for governor, and the primary will be September 6th. We'll continue this conversation. I have a few more questions for Chris when we come back after a quick. Chris Doughty on board with us. He's a Republican candidate for governor. So, Chris, let's listen, if I can pull this off. Let's listen to one of your, you still with me?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, this is one of your TV ads. This is called Too Expensive.
Massachusetts keeps sending the same types to Beacon Hill. Politicians addicted to our classroom. Keep more of your dough with Doughty as governor. Massachusetts keeps sending the same types to Beacon Hill. Politicians addicted to our tax dollars, making Massachusetts even more costly. It's time to try something else. Keep more of your dough with
Okay. That was part of it anyway. That's a pretty good ad. Chris, I think you're taking the high ground with that. And so it'd just be interesting to see you and your strategists, I'm sure, talk about this kind of stuff. It'll just be curious to see how the campaign goes. And I'm not sitting here saying, Chris, to you, I want it to get nasty. I'd like to see you do well in this thing. And that's a good, solid meat and potatoes ad right there. I wonder if it's enough to get their attention. What do you think?
Well, we'll have lots. Yeah, we'll have lots of ads. I mean, the second one is about the electric rates, and so we'll have lots of ads. And we have a new website we're rolling out that will address Maura Healey's weaknesses. And so, my opponent Jeff, his campaign's bankrupt. So he doesn't have the capacity or the resources or really even the, strategic thinking to attack Maura.
But in fairness to Jeff Deal, aren't you?
Yep.
I read that much of what is funding your campaign is your own money.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
That's critical in these types of campaigns. You've got to have the resources. Maura Healey as a sitting AG, and everyone's nervous about her. She's been bringing in a lot of money, so. The only one that can compete against her is someone like myself that can actually fund enough to, bring her to task. But, for example, that ad I just referenced about electric rates, where she was the one that created the problem. My campaign will have many of those between now and November the 6th, because she has done a lot of things that need to be called out and need to be highlighted, and I'll have the resources to do that. And so that's another reason why we need to kind of move on to a new candidate who's got the adequate resources. Jeff's campaign is bankrupt, so he's not going to be able to call her out like it needs to be called out. She would be a terrible governor for Massachusetts, period. Underline, exclamation mark. She'd be terrible for this state. We would move further away. More and more people would move to New Hampshire and Florida. And someone like me that's got the experience, the background, the executive resume, and just the resources to say, Maura, you're wrong. Rent control has failed. That's from the 1970s. How can we possibly talk about going back to rent control? So et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
And I hear you, and I'm noticing, Chris, that you're talking a lot about Maura Healey, and well, you should. But I guess I'm still focused on this primary with Jeff Deal, and do you feel that there are votes for you in speaking to, I guess it would be unenrolleds and Republicans about the evils of Maura Healey? You feel that's a vote getter, you feel, for your primary? I'm talking about your primary.
Yeah, and, I appreciate you bringing that up, Pat, because it is true that on September the 6th, all your listeners and their family and their friends will go to the polls. And, I speak to the unenrolled, I speak to the Democrats, I speak to the Republicans. who do you want to be your governor? You know, it's such an important question, is who do you want to lead? Do you want an activist, civil rights attorney? Do you want a failed candidate, or do you want an executive from the business world? You have three choices, and it's symmetrical. You know, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? You kind of this far right extreme, and then you got this far left extreme, and then you got this businessman that wants the state to be affordable, to make it so people can thrive here and prosper here, standing right in the middle. So anyway, I say to everyone, look, voting matters. What happens to our state will impact generations. And I'm a grandfather, so I fight for not just me, but for my kids and my grandkids and the next generation. So to all your listeners and to everyone in Massachusetts, we all have to take voting really seriously. In my commercial you just read, or you just played, it starts out with this line that we keep voting the same people to the State House. They're addicted to our tax dollars. And frankly, that's true. If you think about, we keep voting the same types of people up to the State House, and we keep going the wrong direction. So anyway, we all have to look carefully at who's on the ballot and select carefully.
Chris Doughty is his name. Again, he's a Republican. He does have a primary opponent in Jeff Deal, and that'll have to be decided on primary day, which is September the 6th. Are you a supporter of mail-in ballots, or do you frown on that? You think everybody should come out and vote in person?
Well, so that we all feel good about voting, I would love to have us all go to a ballot station with a driver's license and say, here's who I am. Then we could all say, okay, that election was fair. It was correct. That we voted the right people in. So I hope as governor I can swing us back that way. Say, no, let's have elections everybody feels really good about.
But the concept of mail-in voting, I'm not talking about absentee voting, but just we used it because of the pandemic, and I'm not sure what to think, to be honest with you, Chris. It seemed like it worked, but there are those that thought it contributed to some level of fraud.
Yeah, we should all go to the ballot station, all of us that are able to go to the ballot station, show our ID or driver's license, and vote. It would eliminate any concerns or stupors of thought that we might have about the integrity of our elections. We could kind of put this to bed once and for all.
All right, my friend, we're out of time. Before I let you go, plug your Hyannis event again for those that didn't hear. Chris is going to be here on the Cape.
Okay, well, first, Pat, let me just say what a treat it is to be on the phone with you. I love these conversations and your questions. And so I hope the listeners are coming to get to know me, and I hope I'll have a chance one more time before the primary. My website is chris4ma.com. That's Chris, F-O-R-M-A.com. I hope people keep their eyes out. Plans are rolling out every day, every week. Tomorrow, we have a special event down in Hyannis at the Veterans Memorial Park at 2 p.m., and we'll be presenting the Cape Cod Plan. Would love to meet as many of your listeners as possible. Come over, shake my hands, look me in the eye, and see if I'd be a good governor for our state.
Okay. Look me straight in the eye when you do that. All right. And so the debate thing, which I very much think Jeff Deal should agree to a statewide TV debate. I think that would be a good idea. You have agreed, and he have agreed to a July 20th radio debate, correct?
That's correct. That's
All
correct.
right.
And I keep telling Jeff, part of the job of being governor is to do TV. You can't be afraid of the TV as governor. So, it's good practice for all of us. So he needs to get out there and do press.
Well, and I respect that, it's politics, and people are you got to say what you got to say, and you had some specifics about Mr. Deal and what your theory is as to why he doesn't want to do a TV debate. I do point out, though, I get what I'm hearing from the Jeff Deal campaign, and that is, what is in it for us? The numbers look like they're in his favor. So you're a smart guy, Chris Doughty. I'm sure you and your people are going to figure it out. How's that?
Yeah. We're working on it, Pat, but we need all the support we can get. So everybody that's listening that would like a lawn sign or a bumper sticker, please come to our website, chris4ma.com.
You also, by the way, it is almost the middle of July, It's also tough on politicians, Chris, because people are on summer vacation, and they're kind of distracted, and then it could be that suddenly, boom, you are going to get all this extra attention because they start to focus, as they should, on who's going to be our next governor. My friend, it is always a pleasure to talk to you. I hope we talk again soon, and stay well and have